The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, they looked up at the night sky and dreamed of what lay beyond. They built rockets. They walked on their moon. They sent machines to distant planets. And finally, in the year 2847, they broke through the last barrier and stepped into a galaxy that was already very old. The Galactic Concord had existed for over 100,000 years. More than 4,000 species had joined this great alliance. They had mapped billions of stars. They had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. To them, humanity was nothing special, just another young species taking its first steps into the void. Ambassador was the first human to address the Concord assembly. She stood in a chamber so vast that clouds formed near its ceiling. Around her sat beings of every shape and size. Some had scales, some had fur, some were made of living crystal, some existed as pure thought. All of them watched the small human woman with mild curiosity. "We come in peace," said. Her voice was calm and steady. "We seek only friendship, trade, and knowledge. Humanity has much to learn, and we hope, perhaps, something to offer in return." The elder species listened politely. They had heard such words many times before. Young species always spoke of peace and friendship. Then they grew and they learned the harder truths of the galaxy. War, competition, survival, it was the way of things. The Conquered welcomed humanity and gave them a designation, Category 7. This meant they were a new species with no military threat. They were noted in the great records and then mostly forgotten. The galaxy had older concerns. But one being in that vast chamber did not forget. High Sovereign of the Dominion watched the human ambassador with eyes that held no warmth. His people were ancient hunters. For 12,000 years, they had conquered and absorbed other species. 63 civilizations had fallen to them. Their method was simple and effective. They called it the Quiet Blade. First you watched. You learned the weaknesses of your prey. Then you cut them slowly. You made them afraid. You made them alone. And when they were broken, you took everything they had. Studied the humans carefully. There was rich in resources. Their population was large but concentrated. Their fleet was small and primitive by galactic standards. And most importantly, they were naive. They actually believed in peace. Perfect prey. In the years that followed, humanity spread across the stars with joy and wonder. They built 17 colony worlds. They made friends with neighboring species. They traded fairly and kept their word. When disputes arose, they sought compromise. When they made mistakes, they apologized and tried to do better. The galaxy watched with amusement. Such innocence would not last, it never did. But for now, the humans were harmless, even pleasant to deal with. Their music was interesting. Their art was passionate. Their food was surprisingly good. Became a respected figure in diplomatic circles. She traveled between worlds, building bridges and solving small conflicts. She genuinely believed that humanity could find its place among the stars without losing its soul. "We don't have to become hard," she told her staff. "We don't have to become cruel. The galaxy is vast enough for everyone." She did not know that they were already watching, already planning, already sharpening the quiet blade. It began with small things. A human cargo ship vanished near space. Pirates, everyone assumed. Such things happened. Then another ship disappeared. Then another. Human captains began to avoid certain routes. They reported strange sensor readings. Ships that followed them but never attacked. Then came the raids. Small colonies on the edge of human space woke to find their supply depots destroyed. No one was killed at first. Just property damage. Just fear. The attackers left no evidence, but survivors described ships that moved with military precision. Humanity brought their concerns to the conquered. They presented data, sensor logs, and survivor testimonies. The representative everything with a cold smile. "Pirates," he said. "Criminals. Perhaps the humans should protect their borders better." The elder species listened and shrugged. Border conflicts were common among younger races. The humans would have to handle this themselves. It was part of growing up. Visited space under diplomatic protection. She met with himself. He was tall and elegant, with silver scales and eyes like black glass. He received her with perfect courtesy and offered her sweet wine. High Sovereign said carefully, "There is evidence that these attacks originate from your space. I am not here to accuse. I am here to find peace. What do you want? What can we offer to end this conflict before it grows?" Smiled, it was not a warm expression. "Ambassador," he said, "you misunderstand. We want nothing from you. These attacks you speak of are not our doing, but I will give you some advice free of charge. The galaxy is not kind to the weak. Perhaps your people should learn this lesson now, while the cost is still small." Returned home with a heavy heart. She reported her findings to the Human Council. Something was coming, she warned them. They were planning something. They needed to prepare. But prepare for what? Humanity had no real enemies. They had no experience with the kind of cold, calculated evil that had devoured 63 species. They could not imagine it. And so they waited, they hoped, they believed that somehow peace would prevail. They were wrong. Far away in the cold halls of the gave the order that would change everything. The quiet blade had cut deep enough. It was time for the killing stroke. The target was already chosen. A beautiful colony world called New Cascade. Population, 2.3 million humans. Men, women, and children who had never harmed anyone. They had 6 days left to live. New Cascade was a world of green valleys and silver rivers. Its people had built their cities into the hillsides, where flowers bloomed all year long. Children played in parks that overlooked endless forests. Families gathered for meals as the twin suns set in colors of gold and pink. Maria was 8 years old. She lived with her parents and baby brother in a small house near the capital city. That morning, she woke up excited. Her school was taking a trip to the nature preserve. She would see the blue deer that only lived on this world. She never made it to school. The fleet arrived without warning. 40 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above the colony. They did not send demands. They did not ask for surrender. They simply began firing. The first shots hit the planetary defense stations. They were small installations designed to stop asteroids, not warships. They lasted less than 3 minutes. Then the bombardment of the surface began. Maria's mother grabbed her and ran for the basement shelter. Her father carried the baby. All around them the sky was on fire. Buildings collapsed. The ground shook. Maria screamed and screamed, but she could not hear her own voice over the thunder of destruction. They were thorough. They targeted cities first, then towns, then individual farms. Their weapons turned everything they touched into glass and ash. The oceans boiled at the edges where the beams struck. Forests that had stood for centuries became walls of flame. Some humans tried to escape. Transport ships lifted off in desperate attempts to reach orbit. They shot them down one by one. They wanted no survivors, no witnesses, only a message. The attack lasted 4 hours. When it was over, New Cascade was a dead world. The green valleys were black craters. The silver rivers were gone. 2.3 million people had been reduced to memories and ash. Maria died holding her mother's hand. The shelter that should have protected them was not built to withstand orbital bombardment. Nothing was. The news reached human space like a wave of ice. At first, people could not believe it. There must be some mistake, some misunderstanding. This could not be real. But it was real. The images were real. The silence from New Cascade was real. The emptiness where 2.3 million voices had been was terribly, horribly real. High Sovereign addressed the Galactic Conquered 3 days later. His voice was calm and measured. He expressed regret for the loss of life, but explained that humanity had violated territorial boundaries. They had been warned. This was a measured response. "We hold no hatred for the human species," he said. We simply ask that they respect our borders and our sovereignty. If they do this, there will be no further incidents. The message was clear: submit or die. The elder species of the conquered listened with uncomfortable silence. What they had done was extreme, yes, but humanity was young. Perhaps they had provoked this somehow. Perhaps there were details no one knew, and besides, they were powerful. No one wanted to challenge them over a minor species. Ambassador stood before the assembly. Her face was pale, her hands shook, but her voice was steady. 2.3 million, she said. Men, women, and children, farmers and teachers and artists, bobbies in their cribs. You saw what was done to them. You have seen the evidence. And you sit there in silence. She looked around the vast chamber. Thousands of representatives from thousands of species. None of them would meet her eyes. We came to you in good faith, continued. We offered friendship. We asked only for peace. And when we were attacked, we came to you for help, for justice. Her voice cracked. Is there no justice here? The silence stretched on. Finally, the conquered chairman spoke. He was an ancient being, his species old when humans still lived in caves. The conquered does not interfere in bilateral disputes, he said. His tone was apologetic but firm. We offer our sympathy for your loss, but this matter must be resolved between your species and the Dominion. Stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something no one expected. She laughed. It was not a happy sound. Resolved, she repeated. Yes, it will be resolved. She turned and walked out of the chamber. She did not look back. The representatives watched her go with a mixture of pity and relief. Another young species broken by the hard truths of the galaxy. They would submit to the now. They had no choice. But they were wrong. Back on Earth, the Human Council met in emergency session. The room was full of generals and admirals, scientists and engineers, presidents and prime ministers. Many of them had been crying. None of them were crying now. What are our options? The council chair asked. Militarily, we cannot match them, Admiral replied. She was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much. 2 of her daughters had lived on New Cascade. Their fleet is 10 times the size of ours. Their technology is more advanced. In a straight fight, they would destroy us. So we surrender? Someone asked. No, Admiral's voice was flat and cold. We do not surrender, we do something else. She pulled up a display showing the entire Dominion. 41 star systems, thousands of ships, an empire that had stood for 12,000 years. They think they know what war is, she said. They have fought many species, conquered many worlds, they follow rules, patterns, they expect us to do the same. She turned to face the council. We will not follow their rules. We will not fight the war they expect. We will do what humans have always done when our backs are against the wall. We will survive. And we will make certain that nothing like New Cascade ever happens again. The council chair leaned forward. What are you proposing? Close the borders, Admiral said. Go silent. Every factory, every shipyard, every laboratory, full war production. Give me 3 months, and then, she paused, then we show them what happens when you threaten our extinction. The vote was unanimous. The next day, every human embassy closed its doors. Every human ship returned home. Every communication channel went dark. The galaxy watched and waited. They laughed. They had seen this before. Fear, paralysis, the prey hiding before the final blow. They had no idea what was coming. The silence from human space lasted 93 days. During that time, the galaxy moved on. They celebrated their easy victory. The conquered filed reports and held meetings about other matters. A few species sent quiet messages of sympathy to the human borders, but received no response. Behind those borders, something was happening, something the galaxy had never seen before. Every human world became a factory. Shipyards that once built 10 vessels a year now produced 10 a week. Civilian transports were stripped down and rebuilt as warships. Luxury goods disappeared from stores as resources flowed into military production, and no one complained, no one protested, no one asked why. They all knew why. They had all seen the images from New Cascade. Dr. the ambassador's niece worked in a weapons research facility on Mars. She had spent her career studying peaceful applications of physics. Now she worked 18 hours a day designing weapons. Her team had created something new, something terrible. They called it the Cascade Protocol, after the world that had burned. "Will it work?" Admiral asked during an inspection. "It will work," replied. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "It will end their ability to make war, permanently." Across human space, similar scenes played out. Engineers who had built hospitals now built bombs. Teachers who had educated children now trained soldiers. Artists who had created beauty now designed propaganda. An entire species bent itself toward a single purpose: war. But this would not be war as the galaxy understood it. The had fought 63 species. They knew how young civilizations waged war. There would be battles over strategic points, negotiations after each victory, gradual conquest over decades or centuries. They were patient. They could wait. Humanity had no patience left. In military academies across human space, officers studied something called the Total War Doctrine. It was based on ancient human history, on conflicts that the galaxy had never experienced. Wars where entire populations fought. Wars where surrender was not offered. Wars where the goal was not conquest but complete and utter destruction of the enemy's ability to threaten you ever again. Admiral addressed her command staff on day 67 of the silence. "They have conquered 63 species," she said. "They did this by following a pattern: strike hard, make them fear you, then negotiate from strength. They expect us to do what all the others did: beg for terms, accept our place, submit." She pulled up star charts showing the Dominion. "We will not submit. We will not negotiate. We will not stop until they cannot hurt anyone ever again. Not in a year, not in a century, not ever." "They outnumber us," a young officer said. "Their technology is better. How can we win?" Smiled grimly. "They have numbers and technology. We have something else. Every human alive today has seen what they did to New Cascade. Every human alive today has made a choice. We will pay any price, bear any burden, because the alternative is extinction." She leaned forward. "The fight for power, for territory, for pride. We fight because we have no other choice, and that makes us more dangerous than they can possibly imagine." On day 85, the human fleet began to assemble. Ships emerged from hidden shipyards across human space. They gathered at a staging point far from any inhabited world. 7,000 vessels, more than humanity had ever built in its entire history. But numbers told only part of the story. Each ship had been designed for one purpose: to deliver overwhelming firepower and survive long enough to deliver more. They carried weapons that did not exist 3 months ago. Weapons born from grief and rage and the desperate creativity of a species fighting for survival. The crews were volunteers, every single one. Many had lost family on New Cascade. All had made peace with the fact that they might not return. They wrote final letters to their loved ones. They recorded messages for children not yet born. Then they reported to their ships and waited. Admiral stood on the bridge of the flagship, the UHS Remember Cascade. Around her, officers worked in focused silence. On the main display, the entire fleet spread out like a constellation of angry stars. "Status report," she said. "All ships report ready, Admiral. Weapons charged, crews at battle stations. We're awaiting your order." Looked at the display. Somewhere beyond those stars lay the Dominion. 41 systems, 12,000 years of conquest, the greatest military power in 3 sectors. And they had no idea what was coming. She thought of her daughters. Sarah had been a teacher, had been a doctor. They had gone to New Cascade to help build a new world. Now they were ash and memory, along with 2.3 million others. They wanted to teach us fear, said quietly. They wanted to show us our place in the galaxy. They thought we were prey. She straightened her uniform and faced her crew. They were wrong. We are not prey. We are not victims. We are humanity, and today we teach them what that means. She raised her hand. All ships begin the jump. Target forward bases. Rules of engagement total. No prisoners, no negotiations, no mercy. 7,000 ships activated their drives. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as they prepared to cross the vast distances in an instant. On the flag bridge, someone began to sing. It was an old song from a time when humans fought with swords and shields. Others joined in, voices rising in a battle hymn that had echoed across 100 human wars. Then the fleet vanished, leaving only empty space and silence. The silence before the storm. The last silence they would ever know. The first warning they received was the destruction of their forward-listening post at Minor. One moment the station was sending routine reports. The next moment it was gone, not damaged, not captured, simply erased from existence. Commander Al of the Third Fleet received the alert while eating his morning meal. He assumed it was a malfunction. Equipment failed sometimes. He ordered a patrol to investigate. The patrol never reported back. 12 hours later, the human fleet arrived at the shipyards at. It was the largest military construction facility in the Dominion. Hundreds of warships were built there every year. Thousands of workers lived on the station. It was protected by defensive platforms, mine fields, and a garrison fleet of 300 vessels. The battle lasted 47 minutes. The humans did not fight the way they expected. They did not probe defenses. They did not look for weaknesses. They simply attacked with everything they had all at once from every direction. Their weapons were strange and terrible. Energy beams that cut through shields like they were not there. Missiles that split into 1,000 smaller missiles. Electronic attacks that turned ships against each other. The garrison fleet tried to respond. They were veterans of a dozen campaigns. They knew how to fight, but they had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that did not care about losses. An enemy that pressed forward even when ships were dying. An enemy that fought with the fury of a species with nothing left to lose. When it was over was a field of debris. Not a single ship remained. Not a single structure survived. The humans did not pause to celebrate. They did not stop to collect the dead. They simply reformed their fleet and jumped to the next target. Word spread across the Dominion like wildfire. The humans were attacking. The humans were winning. The humans were not taking prisoners. High Sovereign received the reports in his throne room. At first, he did not believe them. The humans had a small fleet, primitive technology. They could not possibly be doing what these reports claimed. But the reports kept coming. Day 2, the supply depot at destroyed. 2 million tons of military supplies gone. Day 3, the communications relay network in the outer systems went dark. One by one, each station simply stopped transmitting. Day 4, the 7th Fleet engaged the humans near the nebula. The 7th Fleet had 150 warships. It was one of the most decorated units in history. The battle lasted 2 hours. No ship survived. Finally understood, this was not a raid, this was not revenge, this was extinction. He ordered every available ship to defend the core worlds. He sent messages to the Galactic Concord, demanding intervention. He offered to negotiate. He offered to pay compensation for New Cascade. He offered anything they wanted. The humans did not respond. Day 7, the 2nd Fleet was destroyed over Thresh Prime. The humans lost nearly 1,000 ships in that battle, but they did not stop. They did not slow down. They kept coming. Day 9, the 1st Fleet, the pride of the Dominion, made its final stand at the defense line. It was the largest fleet action in history. 400 human ships against 600 warships. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the First Fleet existed only in history books. The humans lost 200 ships, but 300 remained. They did not pause to repair. They did not stop to mourn their dead. They jumped toward the... On day 11, the human fleet appeared in the skies above Ara Prime. Stood on his balcony and looked up. The human ships hung there like dark stars, blocking out the sun. He had ruled the Dominion for 300 years. He had conquered a dozen species. He had never known fear. He knew it now. Admiral's face appeared on every screen on the planet, every communication device, every display panel. Her voice was calm and cold. High Sovereign, I am Admiral of the United Human Fleet. 11 days ago, my people went to the Galactic Concord and asked for justice. So we have come to claim it ourselves. She paused. You destroyed our colony at New Cascade. 2.3 million people. You thought this would make us afraid. You thought this would make us submit. You were wrong. You taught us that there are species in this galaxy who will kill our children without mercy, who will destroy our worlds without reason, who will never stop until we are extinct. Her eyes seemed to look directly at. We have learned this lesson. Now we will teach you one. We are not here to conquer your world. We do not want your territory. We do not want your wealth. We want only one thing, to ensure that you can never threaten anyone again. The bombardment began. For 4 hours, human weapons rained down on Ara Prime, but they did not target cities. They did not kill civilians. Every shot was precise. Military bases, weapons factories, shipyards, research facilities. The entire infrastructure of the war machine was systematically erased. When the last shot was fired, the Dominion had no army, no navy, no weapons. They had cities full of people and a government that still existed, but they could not hurt anyone ever again. The human fleet hung in the sky for 1 more hour. Then, without a word, they turned and left. They did not occupy a single world. They did not demand surrender. They did not take anything except the ability to make war. On the surface of Ara Prime stood in the ruins of his military command center. Smoke rose all around him. His empire, 12,000 years of conquest, had been dismantled in 11 days. He had wanted to teach the humans their place. They had taught him instead. The Galactic Concord met in emergency session. The chamber that had seen 100,000 years of history was silent. No one whispered. No one moved. They simply stared at the reports in front of them. The Dominion was gone. Not conquered, not occupied, just ended. In 11 days, a species that had terrorized the galaxy for 12,000 years had been reduced to nothing. Their fleet was scrap metal. Their weapons were ash. Their empire was a memory. And the humans had simply gone home. The Concord chairman spoke slowly. We need to reclassify the human species. What classification? Someone asked. They destroyed a major galactic power in less than 2 weeks. Category 1, threat level maximum. No, the chairman shook his head. We create a new category, one that has never existed before. He entered the designation into the great records. Category 0, do not engage. There was no debate, no discussion, no vote needed. Every species in that chamber had watched the same reports. They had seen what happened when you pushed humanity too far. None of them wanted to be next. In the months that followed, human space reopened. The borders came down. The embassies returned. Ambassador, older now and tired, once again addressed the Concord. But this time, no one looked at her with pity. This time, everyone listened. We did not want this war, said. We wanted peace. We still want peace. Humanity asks only to live in safety, to trade fairly, and to explore the wonders of the galaxy alongside our neighbors. What happened with the was a tragedy. We hope it never happens again. She paused and looked around the chamber. But understand this, We will protect our people. We will defend our children. If anyone threatens our existence, we will respond with everything we have. Not because we enjoy war, but because we refuse to let our species die. No one argued. No one questioned. The conquered simply nodded and moved on to other business. Years passed, then decades, then centuries. The story of the collapse spread across the galaxy. It was told in trading posts and military academies, sung in songs, written in histories, each telling added new details, new legends, new warnings. They said the human fleet moved like a single living thing. They said human weapons could crack planets. They said human soldiers fought with a fury that no other species could match. Some of these stories were true, some were exaggerated. It did not matter. The message was the same. Do not threaten humanity. Travelers who visited human space reported strange things. The humans were friendly. They smiled easily. They welcomed strangers with warmth and offered food and drink. Their worlds were beautiful. Their art was vibrant. Their children laughed and played like children everywhere. But sometimes, late at night, travelers noticed something else. A hardness behind the smiles, a weight in the silences. The way human veterans would sometimes stare at nothing, lost in memories of fire and loss. The way human children were taught history not as glory, but as warning. A merchant from the Republic once asked a human friend about this. "Your people seem so gentle," she said, "so kind. How do you reconcile this with what happened to the—" The human smiled sadly. "We are kind," he said. "We want to be kind. We want to believe that the universe is good, that people are good, that peace is possible. We hold on to that hope with everything we have." He paused. "But we remember. We remember every species that tried to destroy us. We remember every war we had to fight to survive. We remember the lessons our ancestors learned with blood and fire, and we pass those lessons down to our children so they will never forget." He looked at her with eyes that were friendly, but also very old. "We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues and wars that could have ended us 100 times. We are the species that looked up at the stars and refused to believe we were alone. We are the species that fell down 1,000 times and got up 1,001. He shrugged. "The thought we were weak because we wanted peace. They were wrong. We want peace because we know what we become when peace is taken from us, and we do not like what we become." 2,000 years after the collapse, they still existed. They lived on 3 small worlds, a shadow of their former empire. They had no fleet, no weapons, no power, but they survived. They had a saying now, passed from parent to child for generations. "Do not wake the humans, let them sleep. Let them smile. Let them trade and laugh and build their beautiful things, because when they stop smiling, stars go dark." It was a warning, a prayer, a lesson written in the ashes of a fallen empire. Across the galaxy, other species learned the same lesson. Empires rose and fell. Wars were fought and ended. But whenever a young species grew bold, whenever a conqueror looked at human space and considered testing them, the elder races would lean close and whisper, "Do you know what happened to the— Do you know what the humans did when their children were threatened? They did not negotiate. They did not compromise. They ended a 12,000-year empire in 11 days and then went home to plant flowers." The whisper spread from star to star, from generation to generation. Never test humanity. They will smile at you, trade with you, welcome you as friends, but threaten their existence and they will end you so completely that the galaxy will still be whispering about it when your species is forgotten. And so the years rolled on. Humanity spread across the stars, building wonders and making friends. They were known as the kind species, the generous species, the species that always tried for peace first. But in the quiet places, in the old archives, in the memories of ancient races, another truth was kept alive, a truth written in fire and ash and the death of empires. Never forget what they can become. Never test humanity. Because when humanity stops smiling, the galaxy trembles. And the whispers never end.